Okay, good day, everyone, whichever part of the world you're in. Welcome to Ask a Better Question. Now, today, my question is, what is soul retrieval? My name is Jonathan Everly, and today I'm joined with Tina Clark from Carolina, South Carolina, the United States of America. Now, we met in Shasta, Tina. Wasn't that right?
Yes.
And it was a real pleasure. It was a gathering of dragon hearts to bring through, to put it into a phrase, the waters of life of Aquarius for thirsting humanity. We were at a crossroads. There was a dry river bed, and hence the focus was to bring through the waters of Aquarius. Very interesting how that opened up a channel through the earth, through the grid lines of the earth. Now, Tina, you're a Reiki trainer and as well as a shamanic energy healer, and you do soul retrieval work as well. You've undertaken numerous soul retrievals, gathering that you've given somewhere around 1,000 healing sessions and maybe for as many clients. That's quite a body of service and experience. So I really want to honor that. And as well, you offer a Voices for Healing podcast, and you do a number of really fascinating things. So I'd like to start really, if you would like to share a little of your background and what motivates you, Tina, as we begin to address this question, what is soul retrieval?
Yeah, so I received my Reiki training in 2014. I did all the levels up into teacher level for Usui Tibetan lineage. And my Reiki teacher was also a shamanic practitioner. And so she offered a series of shamanism classes and taught us how to do a shamanic journey and soul retrieval. And I've been doing them ever since. And then last year, I decided to compile 80 of my shamanic journeys and soul retrievals in a book, Into the Tree, Journeying into the Spirit World. Hopefully, you
Yes,
can see that. And I gave you a copy of the book, Jonathan,
you do. I
and
have it. I have it with me. Here
yeah,
we are. Yeah.
in June. And um, I love doing Reiki. I love doing shamanic healing. And I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I've taken the shamanic healing further than what my teacher had taught me. I've extended it into the land and into guiding beings into the light. And yeah, that's what I do. My name of my business is Stargazing Angel. And I do online sessions, in-person sessions. I teach Reiki certification classes and other classes and spiritual classes. And that's me in a nutshell.
Wow. Okay. Tina, I know that you don't work alone. You work oftentimes with groups, facilitate groups, and you've traveled quite extensively to do energy healing of many kinds. So we share in common the sense that humanity and the earth is going through a evolutionary crisis moment. And perhaps we're not only seeking to share awareness of the possibility for something called soul retrieval for anyone who is listening, but also the awareness out there amongst all the shamans, shaman, women, to be gathering together at this critical time as a concerted effort to bring through what we might call Homo luminous and the new earth. My deepest gratitude to you, Tina, for the soul retrieval reading that you did for me, because it not only revealed deeper karmic traces, I should say, that have shaped my life experience, was done with loving expertise, but it enabled me to thread together insights or awareness that I'd had already about what we might call past lives, and how that had impacted, given shape to this life in really profound ways. You know, even the nature of how I was born as a cesarean, and subsequently lost my mother when I was 8, and the impact that had on me, to finally be able to let go of core issues of trauma, even. Yes, I would say that soul retrieval can perhaps help if anyone has experienced trauma in their childhood or their lives. Would you like to share about that?
Yeah, so soul retrievals is a type of shamanic journey that I do for someone or myself who feels like the energy, parts of our energy may be stuck in events or other timelines or dimensions. And we usually, people who need a soul retrieval feel like they're missing something.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing a part of themselves. They don't feel whole. They feel like their energy is depleted. A lot of people feel that way. And it's because we're multi-dimensional beings and we're doing all of these different things and different timelines. And some of it is quite traumatic, and we can get
Yes.
stuck in those events. Sometimes because we believe we can't leave, or we made some kind of vow. Be careful what you say when you pass away, because you know, it could stay with you, and
Uh-huh.
it's something that you have to heal and release in another timeline or another lifetime. And so it could be a number of things, but it's not always bad. You could be stuck in a good event, maybe a childhood event that you were very happy and you were with a person you deeply loved and you never wanted to leave.
Right.
The problem with that is your energy's still there. And so it's like being, stretched thin. And what the soul retrieval does is I go into those timelines and those lifetimes, and I find those pieces, I find those events and the person that you were in that event, and I ask you to come back with me.
Yes.
For Jonathan, I went into every event and I said, Jonathan is living this life on earth in 2025, and he would like you to come back to him. He
Uh-huh.
would like to have his energy integrated. And usually it's a relief for that soul piece because they've been stuck there and thought they couldn't leave. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes that event is unpleasant. And so you're really releasing them and telling them, liberating them from that event and
Mm.
bringing them back to you now. And the result is you, Jonathan, who I did the soul retrieval for, you feel more integrated, you feel more whole, you understand why you feel the way you do now. Sometimes the events you were stuck in or those timelines you were stuck in, it explains issues and challenges you have in the present lifetime. So it just overall is incredibly healing. It's a validating. You understand yourself more. You understand
Mm.
you're this amazing multidimensional being and you've done so much, but now it's time to call your pieces home.
It is, isn't it? That's the effect that it had on me. Um, and I recognized in the kind of beauty and simplicity, it's a bit like a dream, a colorful, lucid dream. And in my uh, reading that you gave for me, it was in three parts, as I recall. Um, Two previous lifetimes, and a third one, which took us off planet. But I got it, So that off planet one related to what I would call cosmic origins, the beginnings of coming to Earth. And as a result of that, the opportunity, the possibility to resolve an entire timeline way back to the beginning, which I'm still working on. And I believe that this work is pretty much essential, regardless of what anyone else might be doing in terms of self-development, spiritual growth, um, psychological self-reflection, dream work. You know, this is a moment where humanity really we need to clear the patterns that influence us. History repeats for a reason, right? I
Yeah, and I feel like we've been carrying so much. We talked about this before we started recording, but we're carrying all these things in our ancestry lines and in these other lifetimes. And it's almost like this movement into the Aquarian age is forcing us to say, enough. We're
hmm
not carrying this forward anymore. We're releasing this, we're clearing this, we're healing this because we're starting a new age now. And we're not going to bring this emotional, spiritual baggage, ancestral baggage with us to the new age.
That's it. That's the intention. That's because we want to move out of well, let's say we want to move into co-creation, but where we've been is caught up in duality or a them and us. There's a power outside which has been um, giving us a hard time. Somebody, someone, the government, the tax man, whatever, the parent, who knows what it's been. It's been out there. So we're reclaiming all those fragments of ourself into wholeness to give ourselves a clean sheet, a fresh start, and move into an awareness of being a co-creator, free of all of that. Isn't that it?
Right. I mean, we never stop creating,
Mm-hmm.
but
No.
we're going to create from a conscious point now instead of
Yes.
from the unconscious, from the hidden things and the shadow, whatever is hiding in the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So the beautiful thing about journeys too is you go into the shadows and you go into those dark places and you go into those forgotten places where you're still there and we've got to bring you back.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds exciting. Now, um, and it's a big invitation too for everyone listening to what I say is get a soul grip on ourselves, face ourselves in the mirror, and be willing to take a look. What are those underlying patterns uh, which come up unexpectedly, that we need to face. We might call it the shadow world, as you said, Tina, which when we integrate it, is no longer an opposition, it's actually a strength. We
Hmm.
gain from the integration. And I know oftentimes when you journey, Tina, you take us into the tree of life, the universal tree of life, which seems to be so profound. Um, would you like to share about that?
Yeah, so the tree of life is the portal into the spirit world. And so when I see the tree of life and approach it, there's always a door there. And I enter into the interior of the tree, and then I state my questions that I'm journeying on, or that I want to do a soul retrieval for myself or someone else. And then when I feel it's right, I leave the tree out the another door in the back, and then I wait for the scene to unfold before me. So it's often scenes that I'm familiar with, on planet Earth. You could be in the mountains, you could be on a beach, on an island, I often see villages. I'm very connected to Indigenous people. They're my soul group, so a lot of Indigenous people um, look familiar to me. Bonfires, lots of bonfires, you know. So, and sometimes I go to Africa too. Sometimes I go
Hmm.
to Egypt. Sometimes I go off planet, like I did for your soul retrieval. So I'm just open and allowing to what unfolds before me. And then guides will show up to tell me where to go, help me go where I need to go. And they always know. So they point me in the right direction. They say, ask, talk to this person at the bar, whoever it is. And I find out where I need to go to get the answers that I'm seeking.
So this is something you have, this is not something you've picked up, you know, out of curiosity. This is something you've gathered over lifetimes, and I know that you have really the freedom of dimensions, and you call upon uh, truly spiritual beings as your guides. So then you have this freedom to move between worlds and dimensions in a way that is exceptional, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever someone seems to get something easily, they've worked on it. I
Hmm.
remember when I first started meditating and I started seeing angels and archangels. I asked Archangel Gabriel, why is it so easy for me to see you and speak with you? And he said, you've worked on it for many, many, many lifetimes.
Mm. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So it
Yeah.
feels like, more than a gift. It's still a gift, but there's been a lot of lifetimes and time where I've worked on this because I wanted to be better at it. I wanted to be connected. And so I can make the connections more easily now. And I can access the beauty of this lifetime that we have on earth now is we can access these lifetimes and the wisdom within these lifetimes now, if you want to. And why wouldn't you want to?
Why would we? And isn't it, in fact, a necessity? It's something that I think every one of us can't really turn aside from. It's almost like you're driving along. We see synchronicities, but this is in everyone's face right now.
Hmm.
I wonder, is it of interest if we actually look at maybe one or two examples that I could read from your book and you could take us through it or comment as we go?
Sure.
Okay, so this is one of many examples from Tina's book, Into the Tree, Journeying into the Spirit World. Um, And I'd like to read from The Homesick Twin Soul, as just to start off with, because there's some fascinating elements here. This was a soul retrieval that you did, Tina, for Chris, a sweet autistic boy. His mother felt a soul retrieval would be beneficial for him because of the past trauma he'd experienced. When he was a toddler, he had cancer and recovered, but he had a malformed leg. He was self-conscious about that and feeling different from children of his age. The first place you encountered seemed to be in the middle of a hayfield. And this would have been after you journeyed through the tree, right?
Yes.
The hay was high above the human's head. There was a flat circular area in front of you. It looked like the hay. I may change this into the first person. It looked like the hay was pressed down or gathered together into mounds, which were then being burned. People were walking around, and they looked indigenous, like Native Americans. 3 women in indigenous masks surrounded me and danced around me. They parted, and I saw an older woman. She seemed to have authority over the people there. She began to tell me the story. My people understood what earth needed. When the grass would dry, they gathered and burned it together. That way we could control the dry grass through burning. I thanked her for her wisdom and told her I was here on Chris's behalf to retrieve his lost soul pieces. And she said that I had to go to a purple planet. Suddenly, a UFO appeared and landed in front of me. I bid the woman goodbye and boarded the ship which took me to the purple planet, which was located near the star Betelgeuse. Is it pronounced?
Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was purple, like experiencing a continual and beautiful purple sunset. There were mushroom-like plants on the ground. A star suddenly appeared. He was very tall and skinny. He looked like a being called a Kaminoan in the cartoon Clone Wars. He took me to a family who lived in a little hut. There was a mother, father, and a young son. The son was ill and lying on the bed, and the parents looked worried. This young male was Chris's twin soul. The two were now split, one on this planet and Chris on Earth. Both are doing well with each other, but they miss each other and have never been apart. I told the young male about Chris and asked him if he could understand that Chris was on Earth and try to support him as much as possible. He lifted his right hand to send energy to the young male and saw a light ball come from his hand and enter his galactic twin. The twin smiled and seemed to understand the situation. I asked him to enter the crystal that I carried with me, and I'd brought so that I could bring his energy back to Chris. We boarded the UFO and returned to Earth. It dropped me off in South Africa. Humans surrounded me in bondage. There were giant star people who were ordering the slaves around. A slave saw me and pulled me aside to hide behind a large rock. He asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm looking for Chris's lost soul pieces." "I can take you to the leader of the rebellion who is trying to free his people." This leader was Chris in another lifetime. He gave me the strength and confidence to bring back to Chris. They then led me out of a tunnel to the top of a waterfall. I jumped down the waterfall and swam ashore. I saw a smoky volcano ahead. I entered the volcano, and Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, approached me. She said, "It might look chaotic outside, but we're getting work done inside. There were people moving rocks in large barrels all around us. I saw a tunnel, left the volcano, and returned to this timeline. Waiting for me was Mary, Mary Magdalene, and the goddess Isis. They told me they would not trust anybody to assist a unique boy like Chris. Again, the feeling came over me that the Marys, the priestess group Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary are part of, knew how to assist autistic children. It was a great honor to help Chris. So this is, an extraordinary journey, and there's a number of major pieces to this journey, isn't there?
Yeah, it seems like every journey has individual messages for the person or people or even me involved, and then sometimes there's collective messages for everybody.
Yes. But I kind of get it, the autistic boy, his soul twin comes from another star system, and they have this kind of quantum connection of recognition. And then it goes to original ancient racial experiences way back in Africa. And we've heard these mythological, ancient legends, let's say, of an ET race extracting gold from planet Earth in Africa way back, and the humans of the time who had to do work for them. And so that's pretty profound stuff. And then,
I remember
yeah,
walking into that and the danger that I felt. Like it was kind
right,
of like walking into a situation and that guy approaching me saying, "What are you doing here?" That you can't show yourself here. So that was really interesting too. But wherever I go, I feel safe. I have my power animals with me. And so I can change how I look, and my animals can change how we look, or oftentimes people don't even see us at all. So,
right.
yeah, it was interesting to just walk into there.
So, and yeah, so there's protection for you, isn't there? As well as this sort of invisibility. Those are
Hmm.
amazing aspects of energy shamanic work that you do. It's pretty cool, I should say.
Yeah, well, before I enter the tree, I always look at what I look like. And I've changed how I look, but oftentimes I am female still, and I change my outfit and but as I go to these different places, I can change how I look. But not so much anymore, like I used to, and now I just appear the way I appear. People see what they want to see.
Right.
And so I've had the animals with me, like I have a black panther, and she's morphed into a cat, just a regular domestic cat,
Mm,
depending on the situation.
mm.
So yeah, they can change form. We can change form and how we look if we want to. Um,
So
there's
there's a whole aspect of uh, power, animals, and beings that come from the various kingdoms of nature. One can call upon spiritual aid and protection from all dimensions, all dimensions. And I noticed that this journey closes off with connecting to the Marys, Mary Magdalene, Isis, and they're comment at the end there I've found interesting too. They advised that they would not trust anybody to assist a unique boy like Chris. How do you interpret that?
I interpret it as, well, I have a reputation on the spirit world of helping children in general. And it just, to me, says that you have the experience to hold space for a child like this.
Right.
Yeah. And so I feel like, everything's earned.
Uh-huh.
You're just not giving it. It's not we know nothing is random. Um, you've earned it. And if you can do it, there's a reason why you can do it.
Mm.
You've been given
Absolutely.
the keys, you've been given the frequencies. You wouldn't be able to do it if those weren't aligned.
Right. Yes, thank you. So the the goal here is self-mastery in service to others, freedom from dimensions, and ultimately a level of transcendence which can assist others to also achieve their own liberation, their freedom. So, did it? How did it? Are you able to comment on how this might have assisted Chris?
I think knowing that Chris has a twin and on a certain level he will always miss him until they are reunited again.
Right.
And his twin was also a little compromised because he was ill when I encountered him. And so they have their own challenges. But I think knowing that if Chris could understand, there's a big part of him that he may be missing, but then also they can help each other,
Yes.
even though they're not in the same timeline together, dimension together.
Would you say that, you know, autism and this kind of thing may have its roots in other dimensional experiences? Um, and this is a question which honors Indigenous peoples' approach, where they will see somebody who's suffering from, well, experiencing autism or some other form of mental uh, unusual condition as actually being someone special, even potentially shamanic.
Hmm.
I know when I went to visit some Lakota people recently in South Dakota, there was this mother devoted to her son um, who was experiencing autism, and my sense that he was a kind of what they call a hyoka, you know, who's a spiritual ally or a spiritual spirit walker who does everything backwards. Actually, they show the people what not to do by doing it. That's anyway, and so he was accepted and included in everything, rather than excluded and treated as being someone abnormal.
Yeah, I feel in autistic children, they're just very sensitive.
Mm.
And they're obviously gifted in many ways. And, the new children being born in the past couple of decades are very different than the children before that. And it's all because we're in a new age and we're moving into something new and different now. But in tribal cultures, they accepted everybody. And if anybody was struggling, the community would surround them. They wouldn't cast them out.
Mm.
They would actually surround them, and if someone had a so-called mental illness, the community would try to help them through that. So there was no abandonment or pushing away of those people. They're still part of the family and still part of the community.
Yes, which is a holistic way of relating to each other.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's another journey which we you might care to speak to. I won't read through the whole thing, but if you'd like to share your angle of it, perhaps we talk about it. Um,
Okay.
and this is to do with retrieving the higher self. Um, and you wrote, I performed this soul retrieval for a friend who had a very abusive, traumatic childhood. When one experiences such trauma, we split away from our bodies due to fear, and those pieces remain at that event. Her higher self showed up on the journey and united her soul fragments, and many spirit animals appeared with messages. I'll just read the first section. When I approached the tree, the universal tree of life, I saw an owl. I looked up at the owl, trying to read its energy, and it felt benevolent. The owl urged my friend to meditate in silence and darkness each evening for the next few days and see what was revealed to her. She should be on alert for any deception on the part of others and tap into her intuitive wisdom to observe her environment, and this being a time of prophecy, to recognize her most creative cycle was at night time. And then you entered and exited the tree, and the journey unfolded. What would you like to say about that, or perhaps even to fill it out a little bit? But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not unusual for the higher self to show up. I've had journeys where I met my higher self, but the form of the higher self can change too, depending on the dimension and timeline. But this particular person was also a shaman that I did the journey for. So she's quite capable. Even though she did request my help because we always have to seek each other out to help us on our
right.
journeys. Um, yeah, you never know. And that's why I love doing shamanic journeys and soul retrievals because you never know who's going to show up or what you're going to learn, what situation spirit will put you in. Some of the best journeys I've done is just to journey to be of service.
Uh-huh.
And then spirit will take me to places where we need to heal the land or we need to, one of them, I don't know if you recall this one, Jonathan, but it took me to Auschwitz.
Yeah, I
And
touched in on that. That was pretty powerful, pretty
yeah, and the
shocking
only
too.
reason why I recognized it, I thought, this is Auschwitz, I think. And then after the journey, I looked up some pictures and it looked exactly like the pictures that I saw
Mm.
on the internet. And so I needed to do some work on the land there.
You visited that area.
Yeah, and when oftentimes in these places, you'll see like Auschwitz where so much evil and death and suffering occurred. I'll see this large black energy just hovering over this place, almost feeding off of all the suffering.
Mm.
And so in that particular journey, I cleared it, sent it to the light, And when I was done, all I saw was a rose in the ground, and I knew that
Mm.
meant I was finished. And the
Wow.
rose being also the symbol of the Marys
Yes.
and perfection.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, you never know where they're going to take you. And it's so rewarding. Like you said, I've helped thousands of people. I mean, I can't even put a number on the spirits that I've helped in my work.
And bringing through this energy of higher dimensions into lower worlds, right? Lower frequencies.
Hmm. Or moving the energies that are stuck
Yes.
there, and it's not helping anyone on the planet anymore for that. And every time I encounter a spirit that used to be human and they refuse to move on, that energy is holding us back.
Mm. Yeah. This is purifying what we may call the substance of the world, uh, the medium in which we have incarnated as spiritual beings. And this seems to be going on by many people in different ways. And I know, would you like to speak to a little bit about the dragon hearts and the sort of work that you do when you go to areas and gather in together to do this magical work of clearing for the benefit of Gaia?
Yeah, and so even as a Reiki practitioner, you can give Reiki to the earth.
Hmm.
And so when I first learned Reiki, I was doing that. And then when I learned about shamanism, one of one of my Reiki mentors took the classes with me. And we at the time lived in Virginia and Maryland. And I said, well, we're surrounded by battlefields. Why don't we go and work on some of these battlefields? So we together went to Antietam, which is the bloodiest battle of the Civil War in Maryland, and we did a ceremony there. And it's in my blog on my website if you ever want to read it, tinakinneyclark.com. And I just felt called to do more than what I've been taught and to use my intuition about things. And I felt like the land needed help. And so as I've traveled all over the world, I've connected with different places to see just does this place need any of my help or assistance? And not all places do. Some places are running great. I'm always happy to see that. In other places, oh my God, whatever occurred there is still stuck there. So the dragon hearts, they do the similar work. And so when we were in Mount Shasta, we did a ceremony together on that dry riverbed, and we do what's called to in our hearts, and we hold the space, and we to do it as a group is even more powerful. But yeah, and I'm sure we're not the only ones, Jonathan. I'm sure other people doing this. And I can tell when a location's been worked on because I'll give you example like Teotihuacan in Mexico. Gosh, the energy there was just running. And I thought there is nothing I need to do here
Okay, cool.
but enjoy it.
Yes. You know,
But thank you to the shamans that have been working on these
yes,
places because I could
thank
feel
you.
that too.
That's it. To express gratitude, this is spiritual work along the line of the divine feminine, which is
Hmm.
the balancing factor for the world as it is, because the earth is uh, uh, shaken, traumatized, and polluted by man's um, masculine, wrong use of the masculine energy to the point where it's kind of collapsing in on itself, and therefore now is the time to liberate, free ourselves from it. But as we do, we recognize the need to clear out trauma from our own substance, our own body, our cellular nature, and for the land. You know, I sometimes link or align with what I call the spirit of the land, where I am.
Mm-hmm.
That uh, beautiful Davic energy which overlights the environment, the valley. You know, it could be just the housing estate where we live, or the mountain, wherever. But to align with and to acknowledge that vitality and presence, so that there is a relationship, and out of that relationship can come perhaps an intuition, a guidance as to how to live in harmony where we live, where we find ourselves.
Oh, I love that you brought that up because I've been in my current house for 6 years and I never really connected with the spirit of the land. And in fact, the last shamanic journey I did was to connect with the spirit of this land.
Mm.
And
Aha.
she, as a person, she appeared as a young Native American woman with a lot of energy and joy. And it was
Wow.
so much fun to meet her and ask her questions. And it was just, why did I take so long? I don't know. You know, we do a million
Yes.
things, but but what a lovely energy she had.
Yes, of course. And uh, glad for the connection. I think this is what Indigenous people, Native people always do, because that's their role.
Hmm.
But us Westerners wandering around um, disconnected, you know, following our GPS signals and getting lost if we don't have one, right?
And then
Maybe,
the indigenous peoples did things that they knew Earth enjoyed,
yeah.
like dance, like music, like fire, gathering around a fire.
Mm.
They did that for the earth, to give back to the earth, to give thanks and
Yes,
gratitude.
yes. So, Tina, how do we take this forward? Would it be possible for you to guide us into uh, a journey, the makings of a journey, maybe to um, discover our higher self together, or to meet the deva of our environments, our planet? I'll leave it with you to share something that can give our listeners a taste of the gift that your art and your skill can offer and bring. What does humanity really need? We need connection. Well, in a sense, we need both. Uh,
We need to
so,
connect with our higher selves and we need to ground into the
and
land.
to ground into the land where we live. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is beautiful because we happen to be in the sun is moving through Virgo, the sign of the Great Mother, the sign of the Divine Feminine, and the one who brings to birth the child in us, the divine child in each one of us, to step into leadership, to step into life.
So I'm open
I'd
to
play a
doing
drum if I had
either.
one.
Well, it's good to have an intention. So, um, let's connect with the spirit of your land, wherever you are in the world. and meet them. So I want you to take a couple deep breaths in your nose and out your mouth. Close your eyes and focus inward in your body. And I want you to look down at yourself, at your feet, and notice that there's a path. And I want you to start walking down that path. And as you're walking down this path, an animal shows up. And this animal is your power animal. And it's going to accompany you on this journey. So I want you to greet them and pet them, acknowledge them, and they are going to come with you as you walk down this path. And as you look up ahead, you see this amazing tree. It's the tree of life. And I want you to notice this tree. What kind of leaves does it have? Does it have any flowers? What is beyond the tree? Can you see the sky? What color is the sky? And as you walk toward the tree, you notice there's an arched door. And I want you to approach the door and open it. And inside it's dark, but safe, like a womb, like a cocoon. And I want you to enter the tree, close the door behind you. And our intention is that you connect with the spirit of your land wherever you are. And you would like to meet that spirit and talk with that spirit. And when you're ready, there's a door to exit the tree. And open that door, and your animal companion is with you. And then close the door behind you. And now I want you to notice where you are. You may not see anything right away, so be patient and be allowing. And then notice the scenery. Now I want you to look at your feet again. And I want you to start walking that path and follow that path. And just keep going. And now you see in front of you a forest. And there's a way to enter the forest. And so you enter, still walking that path. And up ahead, you see a field surrounded by trees. And in the center of that field is the spirit of the land. It can take a human form, an animal form, a plant form, but you can still communicate with this form. And I want you to gently approach the spirit of the land. Introduce yourself and ask them their name and ask them what they would like to share with you about where you live. What is special about the land that you live on? And I want you to ask any questions you may have. about the land that you live on. Why are you living on this piece of land right now? Does the spirit of land need your help with anything? Is there any prayer or ceremony you could perform for the land? Maybe the land just needs your presence. And now I want you to thank the spirit and say your farewell for now. But now you know you can connect to the spirit of the land anytime you want. And I want you to turn and head back the way you came, through the field, back into the forest, and continue following that path, back to the tree of life. And I want you to enter the tree of life and exit back into this dimension with your power animal. And at this point, I want you to say farewell to your power animal. But next time you do a journey, they will be there for you to accompany you. Now I want you to follow the path and return back to your body in this present moment. And take a deep breath in and out. And then open your eyes. So, Jonathan, you want to share your encounter with the spirit of the land?
Yes, Tina, that was wonderful. Thank you. And a little surprising. I'll share a couple of things. You know, I'm not one to, I'm not so familiar with power animals. So this was a big bunny rabbit. Not necessarily a white rabbit, but that kind of thing. And he guided me to the tree. I stepped into the tree and made a connection with the spirit of the land. I live in Portugal. It has a presence of the people who tended the land for so many generations. The simple folk who lived by nature. So as I went through the forest to the clearing there, I was kind of surprised because a very tall being appeared, which was almost like a druid, but the spirit of the land. And I asked the spirit to really kind of morph into one I could more easily recognize, this beautiful sort of feminine energy of the land. And Portugal, its ancient name was Lusitania, which is the land of light. So those beings who have held the light of these lands, this was the being that I encountered. And I'm so grateful because I'm contemplating, after 25 years of living here and having almost, if you will, stepped into becoming a free man of the land. You know, we lead a life which is fairly close to nature, and in community with others who live in a similar way. The to offer gratitude for the experience that has been given to me, that I'm so grateful for, almost as if being a caretaker or sharing that recognition of the need to live with care as one relates to the environment, and you know, with a garden, and the reverence that one can have for where one lives. So it was with that sort of sense of gratitude and connection that I recognized and was given the insight to offer a ceremony of water, a blessing, you know, to the land, to the spirit of the nature, to give thanks so that my partner and I, may be guided forward to be shown where we may be living in the days to come. So that was how it was for me. Thank you.
I love it.
So we would love to, you know, for others who may have experienced this journey with Tina, to share your something of your experience in the comments, and we would love to hear from you in this way. Tina, any further thoughts before we close this session?
I think the more connected we are to our space of where we live and who we really are, do the inner work. You don't have to do anything big. You don't have to do ceremony all over the world like I do. If you change yourself, if you help yourself, you help everyone and everything around you. And that's where your power is.
Yes.
Within yourself.
This is what we're seeking, is to become whole inside, to recover any fragments of ourselves, to bring that wholeness back into our hearts, so that each one of us and together we can claim our sovereignty, move forward from that center within, and free ourselves from the powers that be, who have kind of had the wool over our eyes for way too long and are really causing a crisis on our planet, to restore the balance between the masculine and the feminine, and to be healed of the traumas that have separated and divided us, because we're not separate beings, are we? We're really a one. You know, we are the one and the many. And if we can embrace that, we can rise with Gaia to receive the renewal, all things made new. And what a wonderful creation and experience that will be for the coming generations. So please get in touch with Tina if you're called to. Tina's website is tinakinneyclark.com, right?
Yes.
TinaKinneyClarke.com. And your book, Into the Tree, Journeying into the Spirit World, recommended reading. And one final question: are you leading any group adventures in the coming months or days that people might be interested in?
Yeah, right now I'm putting together a group online program to awaken your inner wisdom and connect with your intuition. So that will be released probably soon, October. And so if you're interested in that, definitely contact me, get on my subscriber list. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and social media. So, but that's coming out soon. And that's going to be helpful for everyone to connect authentically with your intuition and make decisions that help you flourish and connect with your joy as we move along this chaotic, world that we're living in.
Yeah, we need a little chaos to embrace our creativity around, don't we? But this is good medicine. Thank you, Tina. We'll put the links below, and we'll follow this up with you. Thanks so much, Tina, for
Okay,
joining us
thank you,
today.
Jonathan.
Bye for now.